Hi, I'm SuitorLP and welcome to my Compilation channel. Today's stories are Literally Giving Head, His Addiction, and Liquid of Love. I hope you enjoy them, and if you're watching them a second time, I hope you enjoy them again. Let's go. It was late at night, the quietest time in the hotel. On the radio next to you played gentle jazz from Alistair's radio tower. You had showed him how to set up playlists so that his radio show could go on 24/7, even when he wasn't present. He absolutely adored it. You had trouble sleeping, and so you had decided to read a book, something you haven't done in a very long time. You used your own flames to drown the area around you in a gentle blue light, while you had your head gently held in place by your thighs. You were a Dullahan demon, a somewhat uncommon race of male and female sinnerborn. Like the Dullahan spirit of legends, your heads were easily taken off of your necks, painlessly too. Out of your neck stumps burned an eternal flame, its color representing the flavor of your souls. Because of the beautiful light, Dullahan souls were very desired by dealmakers, some collecting various colors like Pokemon cards. Even Alistair had tried, but especially since the specific color you had was blue, a relatively rare flame color in the Pride layer. Your body, hair, skin, eyes, fingernails, even the inside of your mouth were entirely ghostly whites and gray tones. Your eyes turning blue whenever you put your head back on. You are dressed in a black, armless shirt with comfy gray sweatpants. Your naked feet tapping onto the sofa cushions as you read. On the bar somewhere behind you, you heard the quiet, rhythmic snoring of Husker, the barman. Poor cat had drank himself into a coma. The book you were reading was the thrilling story of a house cat who joined a tribe of feral forest cats. A quite entertaining read, actually. Just as you yawned, however, the door to the lobby was kicked open. You shook, dropping your head on the floor out of fright. Shit, you mumbled into a wood. Your face was pressed against the leg of the lobby's coffee table. You hated operating your body blindly. Hey, little help here, you shouted, hoping the new arrival would help you. Blindly you began feeling with your body into nothingness. You were already used to seeing your own body in third person, but doing this blind was just unfair. You heard footsteps behind you, and moments later a hand grabbed you by the hair. Ow! You complained. You were picked up by someone, turned around in their palm. Oh, hey Angel, you mused. But their spider demon looked at you with a deadpan. He took your head over to the bar, making you wonder what he was planning. He sat down on one of the stools, one hand under his chin. I don't think we should wake up Husk, you said. I know. It's just bad timing is all. You opened your mouth rapidly to use your chin to turn your face to him. So, why did you put me here instead of returning my head to my body? That made me swallow way too much today. That guy, a Cyclops demon, a big one. He just wouldn't stop, you know. Angel noticed your grossed-out expression. So you know what I mean. I don't have to say it. He paused, reaching behind the bar, grabbing a random bottle. Popping the cork, He drank straight from it. "Can I have some too?" Angel rolled his eyes. "Get your He stopped, realizing you didn't have hands right now. "Fine, here." Reluctantly, he put the bottle to your lips. With a smile, you drank a few gulps. The stuff burned. You didn't quite know the logistics of it, but even when your head wasn't attached to your body, it still went down your throat and into your actual body, like there was a tiny portal connecting your neck hole with your neck stump. "Yum, I guess," you chuckled. Already your cheeks were beginning to flush. "I need to let out some steam. But I can't, do anything." "You're trying to change, that's all that matters." Angel gave you a look. Fine, let's do some crimes." Angel smiled. "I wanna, but I won't. I guess I just want some company." Angel looked at you and smiled. "I already feel a little better." Happily, you swung your head left to right, almost losing balance and falling off. Eagerly, you watched him drink, hoping he'd give you another girl, but that didn't come. "Come on, I'm getting thirsty." Angel snickered. Again, he reached behind the bar, took out another bottle and a straw, which he put into your mouth. "There you go." Happily, you began suckling. "I wish I could help you, Angel." "Help me?" "With your soul and all. I still have mine. I have no clue how I could possibly give you advice or anything, and I feel bad." You blushed a little, gave you a little black tint on your cheeks. Angel sighed again. "As I said, I don't want advice, just give me some company. Come on." Quietly, you sat next to each other as the both of you continued drinking random stuff from behind Husker's bar. "I like the music," he said eventually. "Was a good idea of you to show him new tech, huh? But how did you even manage to get him to try it all?" You snickered. "Actually, I broke into his studio with the playlist and just put it on." "That was brave of you." "He doesn't own my soul, he can't shatter it. So no matter what he did, I would regenerate." Angel raised an eyebrow. "Didn't see you as a masochist." "Oh, I wouldn't say that. What I am saying is, we have all eternity to heal from wounds given to us. So why bother?" The spider even crossed his arms. Your facial expression became smug. "And you got it all figured out, ain't ya?" "I feel I got it figured out because I have been dead longer than I was alive. Being alive just seemed like the tutorial for being dead. Too bad that with my bad actions in life I chose hard mode. Forever is a strange thing to grasp." "Kate, I came here to call off, not to have an existential crisis." A loud thud and the winds of pain took both of you by surprise. The fuck? In the meantime, you had tried getting your body over to the bar, and you had run into a wall. Angel Dust stared, laughing. "Hey, stop that! Just help me up, okay?" You rolled your body on its chest, but since you couldn't see where you were, you bumped into the sofa. "No, stop laughing!" Suddenly, he grabbed you by the hair again. "Ow!" "You're the only Dolan I ever met who actually gets pain from having their hair pulled." You blushed. "Well, it doesn't hurt, it's just you did it without warning, and I wanted you to know that I don't like it when somebody grabs my head without warning." He held you up to his face for a moment, and you smirked. What? He sighed, stepping over to your body. But as he was halfway there, he stopped in his tracks, grinning deviously. What are you thinking? You know Val doesn't have a Dolan under contract, right? I didn't, but why does that matter? You then blinked. Hang on, why are you bringing this up now? Angel shrugged. What, can I point stuff out? Looking at him with your eyes narrowed, you muttered. You're having lewd thoughts, don't you, Angel? He shrugged. Well, all I can say, Kate, I never screwed with one of your kind. I thought you're into guys. The spider demon laughed, almost dropping you, but instead, he just took hold of your chin. His lips perked up into a grin. Being able to swing either way when necessary is the most important part about being a good actor in my genre. You just want a notch on your wood, don't ya? He shrugged. And you couldn't even brag with it, considering how loose he could be. Your eyes shifted over to the sofa where your book was sitting. Just make this more entertaining than reading a book, okay? A dumb silence followed, during which he just quietly put your head back on your body. Sighing, you got up on your feet. And if I catch something, I tell Charlie. He snickered, but as he watched you run up the stairs, he realized the reality of it all. With a concerned tone, he shouted back, Wait, we're really doing this? Giggling, you entered your room on the second floor. You had been quietly crushing on the spider for a while anyways. He was just much different in the hotel than he was in public. You like guys who could receive and give. And no one did it better than Angel. You know, I don't usually do it with my close friends, he muttered as he entered, finding you patiently waiting sitting on your bed. Even Cherry? Even Cherry. I find that hard to believe, but you brought this up. He shrugged. I suppose I thought you'd say no. So you don't wanna? He went quiet about a minute, but then he smiled, his normal demeanor returning. Of course I want toots. He undid his shirt, releasing his chest poof. Jumping up, you stepped closer to him. And Angel looked at you with confusion, as you buried your hands in his floof. Huh. He had a shit-eating grin. I really thought... What? That I got actual tits? You nodded, and yet you kept going deeper into his spider fur, and your fingers found his actual chest. You could feel his muscles move beneath your fingertips. He was soft, so unbelievably fluffy soft. As you were mesmerized by the fluff, he gently cupped your cheeks, making you look into his face. Let's do it slow, alright? He muttered, before gently kissing your lips. Angel Dust didn't immediately push his tongue into your mouth. He waited for you to become needy and yearning for more. Feeling as your lips perked up into a smile, deepening the touch, his smell, his softness, his warmth. His tongue finally invading your mouth, it swirled and curled, practically wrapping around your own. It was like this man's body was made for breeding. He reached places no other man's tongue had ever reached. Your body shivered with delight as his second pair of hands took hold of your butt cheek, squeezing tightly. Usually when you did it with a guy with 4 arms, they never used their second pair, but he was coordinated and trained. Your eyes rolled back in delight for a moment. But then, a devious idea came to you, and you pulled your face away, breathing heavily, and he gave you a questioning look. Hang on. You were dizzy, needing a moment to calm down. Something you had never done before had come to you, and with someone like him, you could definitely try it. They would definitely be open for it. I have a few, things I'm hiding that we can use to spice it up. You gulped and took out a long, hard thing with straps, and his face turned into a white grin. Smiling, you said, "With this I can take you from behind," while you threw the toy on your bed before popping off your head, giving it to him. He looked at your blushing face as you smiled at him lewdly. "Why use me to your heart's content?" His eyes lit up. Well, well, well. Beautiful display of creativity. Val would absolutely love you. You grinned. "Shut up. Use me like a toy already." You're taking giving head a little too literal. God, I love you. Hey, thank you for watching my video until the very end. I'm very glad you enjoyed it so far. But before I say goodbye, I would like to shout out all of my lovely high-tier channel members. Twilight, Zoe, Angel, Angry Boxman, Chusta Misery, Hella, BitBit, Melofia, Anonymous Weep, Sleepy Town, Zachary, Nicodemus D, Ash Wisdom, Ikea, The Tribute, and AJ Anime Girl. Lastly, I'd like to thank all of my other channel members. You're all wonderful little mates. Thank you for watching. Bye. Vox threw himself against his chair. What was this feeling? Humiliation, powerlessness, and the pain from his connection being severed from the TV screens. Ugh. It took him longer than he would be willing to admit to anyone. Not even himself, to remember something of utmost importance. His blackened heart jumped as the visage on his TV turned desperate. He jumped up, rushing past his staff, and Valentino, who was still snickering over that stupid song. With the electricity in the circle being interrupted, there was one particular demon he needed to make sure was still alive, or else this could be it for a while, and that he could not allow. Vox stepped into his headquarters stairwell, jumping on the hand railing and sliding down with precision, speed, and style. Meanwhile, from somewhere deep beneath the bowels of the building, you screamed in a ceaseless agony when the screens around you had begun to flicker. Your claws digging into the marble floor as you vomited up static. Something was wrong. Something was invading the broadcast. It was long, sickeningly visceral, and all-consuming. You tried fighting it, but the pain that shot through your body prevented you from even standing. There was no mounting of defenses. There was no resistance, only endurance. As your body arced, you slammed your head repeatedly onto the ground, hoping to balance out the pain, but all you managed to do was black out for around 4 seconds, until the intrusive pain woke you up once again. It was like a demon of unimaginable darkness was embracing your internal skeleton, trying to break every bone in your body simply by existing. Finally, someone kicked open the door in your room. Viscera! Viscera! Are you still here? Someone finally grabbed you by your shoulders, but the pain was too great. All you saw was white as you convulsed. The hands let go of you, and then, seconds later, the pain was gone. From 1 second to the other. And the room was drowned in darkness. Your name was Viscera, the 4th member of the V's, and one of Vox's more beloved minions. Your eyes darted towards the person who had entered. None other than Vox himself. You could tell by the light of his face. He had pulled the plug of the TV you were connected to. Your room looked like a one-to-one replica of his control room. This was necessary, so that you could always be with him to feed him power. Sighing, he put the plug on the ground, turning to face you. What did you do? He stepped next to you, pulling you out of your own vomit, holding you like an adult-sized baby as you shivered in his arms. Mind explaining to me what happened? He growled. An electric sound coming from his screen. You really didn't want to say anything. And he honestly knew what happened. But his pride wouldn't allow it. But regardless, you almost just died, and that was not good. After all, you were vital for everything he did. You were a static demon, a new species of demon that had only started appearing at around the 2000s with the internet. Vox, always needing to be on top, therefore took the opportunity and hired the strongest static demon he could find, which just so happened to be you. Your primary job, and that of the other static demons working under you, were used to enhance the hypnotic abilities of Vox's propaganda broadcasts. Write witty jokes for his comedy skits, and, most importantly, the reason you specifically had been plugged into the TV was to suppress the influence of any other technology-based demon. Problem was, up until now, you never had dealt with something as vile and as powerful as Alistair. It seemed as if his control over radio waves was stronger than yours, and there was no way you could ever overpower him. It's okay, Viscera. I am here now, grunted Vox, annoyed. How dare Alistair try and take this innocent girl away from him? You were his, and his alone. And hell, you had taken on the passing resemblance of a humanoid cat. You had a white, shiny body with a blue cat nose and turquoise shoulder-long hair. Big eyes with long eyelashes that looked like TV static. And you were dressed in a big, puffy winter jacket that went down to your knees, its hood pulled as far down as possible. Your legs were covered by a black leggings, and you wore black shoes with red LED lights. 2 white cat ears came out of the top of your head, creating 2 little bumps under the hood. And you had golden whiskers. You were entirely armless. Instead, 2 disembodied hands floated around you. They were attached to the arms of your jacket with a pair of gloves and 2 safety pins. They functioned like normal hands, just that you could reach much further and could fit them into super tight corners as well, thanks to them not being attached to you with arms. You had a tail that resembled a long electrical plug, which you could insert into various electronic appliances to enhance their function. But there was one extra ability, and it was the reason Vox was so ever fond of you. And the only reason he bothered giving a shit about you outside of general use with the TV broadcast. The power soon returned to the building, but he could feel from your clinging to him that you were still too weak to be reconnected to the system. And so Vox sighed, giving up. For now. "You want to have a drink?" he asked.
I suppose... yes.
He put you down on the ground so you could follow him. "Any injuries?" he muttered as he stepped forward.
Don't act like you care, Vox. Don't act like you care, Vox.
He stopped for a moment, and you almost passed him. "I care enough to ask, Viscera." You looked away, placing your hands on your hips for comfort.
Thanks for caring, I suppose.
He rolled his eyes and kept going. Vox opened the door to his penthouse. The other two Vs were there, both smugly grinning, their egos unnecessarily inflated after Alistair said Vox would be nothing without them. "The fuck are you two doing here?" barked Vox. They looked at each other, not saying a word, but their looks were enough for the TV demon's screen to flicker angrily. "Voxy, baby, it's alright. We turned everything back on. Signal was dead for less than 10 minutes. Mused Valentino. Meanwhile, Velvet jumped up and pulled you aside. "The fuck are you wearing?" You blushed, looking away. "I gave you that bomb-ass dress and you aren't wearing it."
It's not really my style.
"Well, that nerdy 80s hacker look of yours is totally out of fashion." From somewhere she grabbed a new dress. "Go wear this." "No. Come on. I don't want to be forced to look at that fashion disaster any longer."
Fine.
Quietly, you marched into a nearby bathroom. But the three others sat down. You could hear them arguing loudly through the closed door as you pulled down the zipper of your jacket. Meanwhile, you wondered how the radio demon had invaded your body. This never happened before. At least not unconsensually. You felt gross. Violated even. Like you had been in the mouth of a large beast, chewed on before spit out. And you could still feel the deathly embrace of his tentacles beneath your skin. You had seen Valentino's tentacle flicks before, and after this experience, you'd never want to watch them again. Even if the guys and girls wiggling as they were used by the tentacle demons seemed to enjoy it, you did not. You threw on the dress. It was frilly in a black and white square pattern. Even had a little hole on the hip for your tail to be pushed through. And also didn't have any holes for the arms. It was quite literally made for you. And you blushed. God, it was so ugly. Way too tight. Way too revealing. Made you feel like we were one of Valentino's little demon toys. The fabric was super light and fragile, and you shivered a little in it, due to how much skin it exposed around your collar and legs. You were feeling cold. You kept your gloves on. There was just something about seeing your hands float that made you uncomfortable, and wearing gloves kept the uncanny feeling a little at bay. By now, the loud voices of the other Vs had stopped, And as you entered the penthouse, it was only Vox left sitting there. Seemed like this was only a short shouting match between them. The TV demon sat with his legs spread on a big white sofa, leaning back, smoking a cigar. On a small table in front of him was a glass with some whiskey in it. His eyes fell upon you. Viscera. He pointed at you. It looks good. Blushing, you looked away. With his free hand, he tapped next to himself. Come sit with me. Obedient, you followed his order. Despite being a V, you felt more like a subordinate than anyone else. But that was because you were more a background actor, rather than actively participating in anything, really. All you did was make Vox feel powerful. Maybe that's why Velvet was so mean to you. You felt like you weren't putting in enough work. Especially since this entire problem was because you weren't strong enough to push Alistair out of the system. You sat down with a depressed expression.
So, are you going to hurt me?
Casually, he placed an arm around your shoulder, taking a deep drag of the cigar. You could tell from his facial expression that he still hasn't made his choice on that yet. He puffed the smoke into the opposite direction of your face. I don't know yet. On one hand, you disappointed me by not preventing the overload. On the other, images of your convulsing form were portrayed on his screen, both to torment you, as well as making him feel a little sad. You tried, obviously. As repayment, Val wants you to star in one of his flicks.
What?
He smirked, the screen of his face turning into a POV recording about a part of the conversation the three had. What about Viscera, the little snack of yours, Vox? Snickered Val, who was sitting with his legs crossed, taking drags of his cigarette.
Of course we demote her or something. She can't be trusted, grunted Velvet.
I was thinking more we make her perform in one or two of my flicks. Basement dwellers love short-haired emo cat girls like her, and that would certainly pay for any damages that we still have to pay. Besides, it would be appropriate punishment. Velvet scoffed. Vox's voice now spoke up. Who knows, without her, more than likely my broadcast would have given up sooner. Yeah, Voxy baby, but then you would also have been less humiliated if that TV of yours turned off a little sooner. Vox growled while you got smaller and smaller in your little corner.
It's not my fault,
you cried. Vox's hand suddenly clasped your chin, making you shiver.
If she sucks so much, get someone better then. No, Velvet, please,
you whispered as if you were arguing with the recording.
Bitch won't even advertise for us wearing my fucking dresses. I put so much fucking work into them, little bitch. I promise I only wear them now. Please. Thanks.
Tears were streaming out of your eyes as Vox stopped the recording on a frame where Velvet showed her middle finger before switching back to his regular face. He had a hungry expression. So, Viscera, what do you think?
Please don't kick me out. Please don't kick me out.
You cried as you grabbed onto his jacket, which made his grin widen even more.
Please, I'll do anything.
Anything? You sniffled, looking up at his face, on which a malicious smile had appeared.
Anything. Tell me, Viscera, he said, placing a finger on your chin. What did he do to you? Why did you scream in pain so much? Your lips quivered. I want to know why you humiliated me so much today. So go ahead. The stage is yours. His hand moved lower, gently wrapping around your throat. You breathed heavily, but he didn't squeeze. Vox just made you feel his presence on your windpipe. I could feel him. You sobbed. He was inside me. His tendrils wrapped around each and every bone of my body. It was too much, too painful. I lost control, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Next time I let him break my bones, I promise. Licking his lips, Vox seemed to be satisfied with the answer, and without saying a word, he then pointed at a plug somewhere on the lower edge of his head. You gulped loudly. Directly interfacing always made Vox so violent, but the man was addicted to it. He loved it when you were snooping around his brain. It was the real reason he wanted you to stick around, and the reason you were a V. Uncomfortably, you reached for your tail, while he unbuttoned his shirt, licking his lips. With a shaking hand, you gave him the plug, but he slapped your hand away. He wanted you to put it in. He wanted you to be responsible for whatever happened next. But you didn't really have a choice here, did you? He leaned back, forcing you to climb between his legs. One hand next to his thigh, you leaned forward, only for him to slightly tilt his head, making you jolt back. Be gentle, Viscera. Got it? Yes, Vox. Your plug clicked into his face, immediately causing his body to jolt and aggressively grab you by the shoulders. His TV face flickered as his grip became stronger, more painful. You, meanwhile, went blind as you saw your own body through his eyes, your body going limp, your hands falling to the floor with a quiet thud, being forced to watch through his eyes as he violated you. With an insane laugh, Vox threw his head back. I love it when you're in my head, Viscera! He screamed at the top of his lungs. You could hear him through your ears and in your head, his thoughts of violence and lust fusing uncomfortably with yours. It was like having your brain taken out of your skull and then thrown into a mixer, leaving you to pick up the pieces. Helplessly you watched as he pushed you down on the glass table, throwing the glasses off to the floor, his tongue manifesting out of his 2D screen face. He licked over your shoulder, throat, and neck, while using his slender claws to open up Velvet's dress, his claws only barely damaging the tender fabric. He wanted you to wear this again. It looked good on you, and unpacking you out of it was like the opening cherry to the delicious sundae that was your frail little body. His hand slammed on your chest once your dress was pulled down to around your hips. You tried closing your eyes, but as long as he didn't as well, you'd be forced to see this. You little slut, you love this, don't you? He grunted into one of your ears. I can feel the pleasure you're feeling from this, Viscera. Don't act all shy. He slammed his mouth on yours. You could feel the electricity coming off of his screen. It sizzled above your nose, while his tongue mercilessly plunged into your throat. You gagged and retched at his unfriendly intrusion. After a desperate minute of you trying to keep your stomach contents inside your gut, he retreated his long appendage, rolling back his eyes as he embraced the feeling of power he had. Sitting back down on the sofa, he reached for one of your hands, using it to open up his belt. You were lying next to him in bed, shivering. It was the next day. You had just stopped around 10 minutes ago, too exhausted to keep going. He allowed you to unplug from him. Unblinking, you stared at the clock of his nightstand. 12 p.m. You must have really disappointed him to go so all out on you like this. You looked down at your body, covered in bite marks and bruises, and probably 1 or 2 broken ribs. He had never been so violent to you before. Crying, you apologized. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. He rolled around, sighing. Oh, I know it won't happen again. He purred. You shivered as he placed his hands on your shoulders, gently massaging them. After all, I trust you. Trust me? Even after what I did? Of course, Viscera. After all, you're a V. One of my best. I'm one of your best, you repeated. Exactly. Without you, the show would only be half as fun. Now, his mouth was hovering right over your ear, gently licking your lobe before he said, "Get some rest, okay? You'll need it." You were lying on your bed, staring at the ceiling. It had been a few weeks now, maybe 3, maybe 4, that you had joined the Hazbin Hotel. You had been the first after Serpentius, surprising everyone. Of course, Charlie, the owner of the hotel, had been super excited, at least until the radio demon Alistair had chimed in. Of course, he was all for you being here, but he warned everyone of the kind of demon you were, with an almost too gleeful smile. Your demon kind was the reason you had been pushed aside by everyone. This was your first and obviously only chance to change anything in your second life, and you were not going to throw that away. In hell, you had become a frenzy. A unique demon. Outwardly useless, no powers to speak of, and yet they could transform, an ability usually reserved for the most powerful of overlords, into ravenous monsters. These transformations were sometimes even permanent. Most instances of these permanent transformations coming from the layers of lust and gluttony. Though understandable, more than likely these frenzies were permanently surrounded by their triggers, which didn't allow them to calm down. Worst of all, anything could be a trigger. Usually negative stuff. But it was observed, mostly in the deeper layers, that apparently frenzies could transform through positive means as well, such as certain drugs or sex. The only upside was that the trigger was just one thing. While this one thing could be anything, if the thing was discovered, all it took was avoiding it. Still, frenzies were left on their own devices, usually. Avoided by gangs and deal-makers alike. A lonely existence, but probably the closest to being safe. Even if it had more negative connotations, as because of this you were luckily saved from any more exciting group activities in the hotel. Most of the time you just watched TV, or played with a video game console provided by Vaggie, Charlie's girlfriend. Still, having everyone prance around you, even if they called themselves your friends, well, that was quite upsetting and really patronizing. Well, knowing that being patronizing wasn't your trigger seemed to be all they cared about in the end. You rolled on your side. At least the bed was nice. Actually, it was really nice. You rubbed your face against a soft pillow, closing your permanently heavy eyes. Only to open them seconds later, as through a doggy door under your main one, Nifty burst into. She was the maid of the hotel. "Tina, Tina, 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 Tina!" she shouted at the top of her lungs. Immediately, you're fully awake. What? "Oh, nothing," she said. "Just checking on your bug problem." I don't have a bug problem. The hotel had a slight issue with cockroaches, but they remained mostly in the basement and lobby, never really entering the living quarters. The Cyclops demon looked vaguely in your direction for a moment, before raising both arms. "But I need to make sure. I'm the maid!" You blinked perplexed. Then you raised a finger like you were back in elementary school in the hopes she let you talk. How about I let you search my room for any insects, and in the meantime I get out of your hair." It was dangerous to be in stabbing range of Nifty. Her eye widened. "You would let me do my job?" She jumped on your bed, and a split second later, your foreheads touched. Her giant eye focused on you. "That is the nicest thing anyone's ever done to me in the past 30 minutes. The two of you remained like this for a while, not saying a word. The silence was awkward. Can I go now?" Nifty nodded before jumping off of you, pulling out a large sewing needle from her belt. She giggled. Come out, wherever you are." Okay, better not bother her then. Quickly you slipped out of your room. You sighed behind the closed door, placing a hand on your chest. Your heart beat quite fast. Maybe you should eat something. You shook your head, sighing again, deciding to go to the lobby instead. Knowing Nifty, she'd take all day to do this. You sat down at the lobby's bar, causing Haz to immediately shudder. "Hey, Missy." "Tina." "Tina. Yeah. Hey, Tina." You scratch your shoulder, embarrassed. "Nifty is busy in my room." The cat demon nodded. "Can I have a drink?" Sharply he inhaled. "Your rules." You sighed. Come on. You don't even know if alcohol causes it. "Can never be too sure." You pouted. Absolutely no vices for you. "But I know I can drink vodka and whiskey, and I have drank a few cocktails. Maybe I can, deal with rum, not sure." Yeah, I don't feel like trial and erroring this. Please. He sighed deeply. Well, Charlie and the others are in here. Fine. Make an exception. He leaned down to his fridge. Let me make something up for you. Smiling, you placed an arm on your chin for support. He was throwing a few liquids into a metal can and started shaking. Pretty much weighing this one, just the stuff we know doesn't cause any effects, plus some juice. Sounds lovely, you said sarcastically. You really were only after the effect of alcohol, not really looking forward to the taste. After he was done shaking, he poured the concoction into a glass that already had clear ice cubes in it. He filled it halfway, added some brown sugar on top, some crushed mint as well. Alright, let's just try this. You took a sip. It burned. Like your mouth was on fire. You coughed. At least you didn't spit it out. Are you alright? You nodded. You rubbed over your mouth. He grinned wildly at you. Lightweight, he mused. Not everyone sells stuff to me. I'm not used to it. You pouted again. It was that pout the cat even liked so much about you. Alright. Let me try something else. You nodded, causing him to take the glass and gulping down the drink in one go. Licking his lips, he nodded. Yeah, you're right, too much rum. Still, though, he thought, he mixed another drink in accordance to the rules that apply to you and your own experience. Through trial and error, he ended up with 90% juice, some syrup, sugar, and very little of a very strong vodka he had. There was no specific cocktail, just something you assumed you'd enjoy, and well, you did. After only a sip, you smiled happily, causing him to blush a little. This one is good. You smiled, almost making the colon-free emoji face as your ears twitched happily. Husk, meanwhile, almost rolled his eyes. Yeah, it's basically juice, he thought. But seeing you happy was all he needed to make his heart jump. He found you relatably cute. While your features were quite humanoid, you had cat ears poking horizontally out of the sides of your head. Had long, shoulder-long black hair that even after combing for 2 hours straight still looked like you had just gotten out of bed. You had dull, almost herbivore-like teeth, if it wasn't for super dangerous-looking canines. Almost like those of a blood demon. What was cool about your teeth was, however, the fact that, just like your white eyes, they had a light glow to them. In pitch darkness, you could be mistaken for a hell-born smiler demon. It wasn't for the fact that you had a physical body. But of course, as a frenzy, he knew that your cute appearance was treacherous at best. Like the light of an anglerfish in the deepest abyss of the ocean. You kept drinking with the barman, despite him knowing the danger. But you said alcohol did nothing, and he was put here for purposes of booze. It was once he ran out of the juice that you were drinking that he became perplexed. Your face was a little red by now. You really were lightweight. No more juice, you complained. You had a little too much anyways, he thought. But he kept his mouth shut. Well, there was one thing though. Something curious. Something pink that he hasn't noticed before. It was in a heart-shaped bottle. He pulled it out. What's that?
I vaguely remember that an angel brought this once. Well, apparently it was used as a background prop in a sponsored movie of his. The makers of this stuff being said sponsors.
He read the back side of it.
Well, apparently it has some bourbon in it. Low percent too. Probably something eggnoggy. Just as an example, I mean.
You could probably drink this. It was very light. And so he filled a shot glass with it and pushed it over to you.
Well, bottoms up.
You took a sniff. It did indeed smell like a mix of eggnog and a strawberry syrup of all things. The liquid itself was pink and quite thick. You quickly gulped it down, expecting it to be vile, but it was okay. Though for a moment you just looked at the shot glass, a strange expression on your face. Can I have more? Haz looked at you uneasy. Your almost deadpan was making him concerned. And yet, he filled another shot glass, which he soon realized was a mistake. As after you gulped that one down as well, you were no longer yourself. Eyes widened, quickly like a snake. You ripped the bottle out of his claws, shoving the entire thing into your mouth, your jaws unhinging like those of a snake in a gross yet impressive manner. It was quite horrifying.
Oh crap. So, bourbon it is.
That was your trigger, it seemed. Great. His favorite alcohol as well. Go figure. He watched you quickly transforming in front of his eyes, your body becoming more lean as your mouth kept crunching on the glass bottle, gulping Husk snuck away from the bar. However, as he took a footstep on the stairs to the second floor, they creaked, causing your head to snap towards him. Your eyes had turned bloodshot and were seemingly growing. Your mouth as well had doubled in size. Teeth, while completely mangled by the glass, were already regrowing into shark-like dentures. Blood was spewing from your gums, lips, and tongue from the glass shards. Your hair, too, had turned white. Long, blade-like claws were violently tearing through your fingertips, shredding through skin and bone. Arms creaking and cracking as they elongated. Even your skin was tearing from its inability to contain your new body's proportions. It wasn't a nice and easy metamorphosis like those of Alistair. It looked painful, violent, and was very bloody.
Shit.
Shrieking, you began to chase after him on all fours. His hairs stood up as he rushed up the stairs. When he was still an overlord, he probably could have turned into something of equal power to yours and taken you on until you calmed down, but since Alistair had his soul under contract, he was severely limited. You chased him into the first floor, the twisting hallways of the hotel becoming a nightmarish maze that was incredibly difficult to navigate, due to miscellaneous decorative furniture and the constant possibility of running into a dead end. Considering what was behind him, that dead end was not some colorful description of a hallway that led into nothing but quite literally an end where he died. And considering he still had his overlord level regeneration abilities, This is going to be a death he'd probably go through over and over and over and over again until you calm down. Ugh, he hated the heavy metallic noises of your claws slamming on the ground behind him, especially when they seemed to get louder. Somehow, the cat demon managed to reach the second floor, you closely behind him, almost slipping on the stairs. Alistair lived somewhere here. His room, a pocket dimension he created, so it always took over empty random rooms daily. But he was getting out of breath. Alistair! God, by here, please! He yelped. Meanwhile, inside his room, eating the carcass of a deer, the radio demon's ear twitched. He had this strange feeling someone called his name just now. Curiously, he approached his door, only to open it to quite the racket. He watched Husk zip past him, on all fours like a proper little scared kitty cat. But then his eyes, for but a moment, fell upon the grotesque monstrosity you had become. At this point, your arms had become so long, you used them instead of your legs to push yourself forward. You just uselessly dragged them behind yourself, as your feet were slowly turning into big metal spikes. The radio demon sighed, closing his door and changing where his pocket dimension was located, just to avoid you getting his scent. This little scuffle between you and Husk was beneath him. But, as he thought, the cat was still a very valuable soul. And reluctantly he snapped his fingers, causing Husk to immediately disappear from the hallway. Though, since he was still running, he slammed face first into Alistair. Afraid and shaking, he jumped back. Sorry, boss. I didn't mean to.
Ah, that's quite all right, my good man. Mind explaining to me what you did with our lovely Tina?
I did nothing. Fine, we were drinking. Alistair scoffed.
You know you're not supposed to do that.
Husk shrugged. Well, it's too late now. Also, it's not alcohol that's doing it. It seems to be specifically bourbon. That's like she drank something with bourbon in it and then she transformed. Alistair raised an eyebrow.
I assumed it was something more spectacular, like being rejected that would finally make her snap. Oh well. Just a mild disappointment, I suppose.
Husk shrugged. Very well, then. Alistair was interrupted by the noise of your blades slashing at his door. Of course, his cursed wood would hold, but he wasn't one to be imprisoned in his own pocket dimension, especially by a demon he thought he could immediately destroy.
Well, Husk, my good man, how about you deal with that?
What? How?
I don't know. Make her happy.
How the fuck am I supposed to make that thing happy? Alistair rolled his eyes.
What has our dear Tina been missing since she arrived? My dear Husk, you're as blind as a bat. She has been stuck in hell all alone, and then she has been stuck in her room all alone. People avoid her because of what she is. And the fact that I actually have to explain this to you, well, I think I'm gonna add another decade to your contract.
The cat shuddered.
This is all the help I'll give you, Husk.
Alistair hissed.
Now deal with this. Ta-ta!
Alistair snapped his fingers, teleporting Husk right behind you with an audible thud, causing your neck to turn 180 degrees with a loud crack. By now you had coughed up all the glass shards and your mouth had stopped bleeding. Hi. Husk took a careful step backwards, his hands raised in the defensive position. You slammed a hand forward, dragging yourself closer to him, your mouth growling, hot air smelling of alcohol quickly huffing into his direction. Closing his eyes, Husk built himself up to maximum size, spread his arms and wings, and said, "Fine, just take me." You screeched, throwing your entire body onto him. And yet quickly he sidestepped, managing to position himself under your chest. And then, his face pressed between your breasts, he wrapped his furry arms around your hips, before your entire body slammed onto his. Air was pressed out of him, and he coughed. With all that metal, your body was at least 4 times heavier now, but it seemed to work. You didn't move. Slowly, Husk breathed to calm down his heart. For a moment, the two of you remained like this, and then you finally went limp. Oh, thank God.
No, Husk, God had nothing to do with this.
Chuckled Alistair as he poked his head out of his room.
Without me, you'd be just a heavy little snack for her.
Shut up. Alistair snickered.
Don't bother me again, Husk.
The radio demon slammed the door shut, the audible finger snap indicating he once again changed the position of his room. Piece of shit, muttered Husk under his breath. Well, there was one good thing out of this, and that was that you were fainted, and your body was slowly reverting to how it usually was. Meaning, he wasn't burdened long by the weight of your heavy metal claws and oversized arms and head for long. He carried you on his shoulders to your room, where he kicked out Nifty, saying, "There's a huge mess on the 2nd and 1st floor. Go fix it." "Okie dokie," she shouted, saluting him. Huska then threw you onto your bed. Sighing, he sat down next to you. He felt exhausted. You grunted as you slowly woke up. Husk was still sitting at the edge of your bed. "Husk? What are you doing? Something wrong?" You looked around. "Wait, how did I get here?" Well, you... Wait, did I go crazy?" He inhaled. No, actually, you just had a little much." "Oh. Hurry." You rubbed your forehead. "All I remember is how good that drink tasted." The cat demon blinked and then inhaled deeply. "You liked it?" "Yeah? Why?" He grinned painfully at you. You said you didn't, actually. You said you hated it.
He was speaking through clenched teeth. Really?
Yeah, seems like you just hate bourbon. You know, shortly after you passed out. Yeah, too much of the good stuff, I assume.
You looked down on yourself. You were dressed in your PJs. Did you change my clothes?
Well, don't get upset.
The truth was that they were both torn and covered in your blood. So you had to quickly fix that.
The truth is you vomited all over yourself.
You blushed hard. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. An embarrassed moment of silence followed.
I mean, it's okay. It's better than you going crazy.
He looked down at his feet. He hated lying to you. You sat up, placing a hand on his. Are you okay? His gaze shifted to you, and he smiled, putting his other hand on your cheek, causing you to blush.
Just stay the way that you are. Okay? Promise me that.
You looked at him, smiling. I promise. For a beautiful, quiet moment, you got lost into each other's eyes. As taking note of how pretty your eyes were when they weren't filled with the desire to eat and kill. They were like beautiful pearls. You audibly gulped. What happened next might be simply because he was the first person to treat you nicely. Well, outside of Charlie and Vaggy, of course. But from a moment to the other, both of you had the same impulse, the same need, the same desire. Your faces pushed together, lips touching hungrily. And for a moment he was mistaking your passion for another frenzy transformation. Even though that didn't make sense. Your lips still tasted vaguely like your blood. I was glad that you didn't notice it though. Husk felt your breath brush over his face. You could smell him. He reeked of booze and sweat, and yet it wasn't disgusting. Somehow. But just as his curious tongue prodded against your lips, you pulled away, shyly.
What's wrong, Tina?
He hushed. I don't know. What if this is my trigger? He gulped, inhaling silently through his nose.
Then I'll deal with it.
He knew how now, he thought. You gave him an almost afraid look, and yet this feeling Husk gave you was too powerful. You wanted to feel it more. And so you pressed yourself against him, mouth half open to allow his tongue access. His was a little rough, like a mix somewhere between a human and a cat tongue. You exhaled pleased, and then allowed yourself to be pushed into the fluff of your bed by him, to embrace his love and feel him deep inside you.